Today in our mentor speak session, we have a pleasure to have Dr. Rahul Nikam, a friend uh, who has been practicing in USA since some time. He is basically from Nagpur, but right now he is in USA. And he is a neuroradiologist. So some of our students from Bluebird, the program that we run for our students for higher education abroad, some of our medical students wanted to know about the exam, USMLE exam. So Dr. Rahul Nikam has agreed, and he has taken his time from his schedule for us. So I want to thank him first of all that he is with us today. So thank you, Dr. Rahul, and I hope that in today's session, our students who are from a medical background will take benefit and to because we encourage our students to go for the best possible opportunities available. So I hope that today's session will be beneficial for them. So thank you so much, and over to you, Rahul.
Thank you. Thank you, Anup Bhai. It's always a pleasure. And thank you for spearleading this Nalanda, digital Nalanda, which has been a tremendous success in past few years. Jai Bhim, everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay. Sorry. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, Rahul. We are able to see. Yeah.
Okay, and it's a main screen which I'm sharing, right? It's not the secondary monitor.
It is introduction to USMLE.
Okay, perfect. That's okay. Jai Bhim, everyone, and thank you so much, Anup Bhai, for giving me this opportunity. Today, what we are going to do is we are going to have a review of what are the steps involved in United States medical licensing examination, or USMLE as it is known as. And this is a step which needs to be taken before you start your residency program, fellowship, and before you start working in the United States. Okay, so let's begin. So the question is why you should consider training in other countries like United States. And let me start by telling about what my motivation was to come to US, get trained and work over here. So during my third and fourth year of my medical school and throughout my residency, I was always interested in research and academics part of medicine. And I always wanted to be involved in research, writing papers, pursuing hypothesis-driven research and all those sort of things. And when I was looking at options for myself, I realized that United States is one country where there are tremendous amounts of funding opportunities if you have a nice hypothesis or really worthwhile hypothesis which needs to be pursued. And it gives clinicians like me a nice platform to continue working in their clinical field as well as pursue research. So if you look at what my current work week is now, 40% of the time of my time, so 2 days of my week are dedicated to the various research projects which I'm working on. They have been internally as well as externally funded by federal agencies. And the 3 days I am involved in patient care. So that was my primary motivation. I wanted a hybrid kind of work atmosphere where I could pursue both of my fields. So what other motivations can be? Obviously, countries like US, who have one of the best healthcare systems in the world as far as technology is concerned, it can expose you to the latest and greatest in your chosen field. So the authors which we read from our textbooks are predominantly Western authors, and you can actually have an opportunity to work with them, have them as your mentors, participate with academic opportunities with them. Personally, I feel the quality of training in United States is one of the best. I was fortunate enough during my fellowship training to meet mentors who were really invested in training me in the various aspects of neuroradiology. The research opportunities are tremendous. As I said, there are a lot of funding opportunities in the US if you have a good hypothesis, and you can actually have like a hybrid kind of work pattern, like myself, where 40% of my work, of the work which I do is dedicated to research. And also a degree in a residency from United States gives you more flexibility to work internationally. As far as radiology is concerned, I know that the Diplomat of American Board of Radiology, which I am, is recognized by countries like by multiple European countries, Middle Eastern countries, and as well as in like Australia. So that flexibility is also very enticing for everyone. Okay, so moving ahead. So as the international medical graduates, to actually start working as a doctor in US, what are the steps that needs to be taken? So first of all, you need to have a medical degree, MBBS. That is something which you are all probably pursuing or have finished it. You need to pass a licensing exam, that is USMLE. We are going to look into the details of USMLE in next few slides. You need to document your medical education credentials with EcfmG. So we will look at what EcfmG is and what are those medical documents that needs to be credentialed and what the process is. After that, you get certified by EcfmG. Now, once you are certified by EcfmG, you are eligible to apply for residency programs in US. So if you have done your residency in India, there are some programs which might give you directly an opportunity into the fellowship programs. Radiology is one of those fields, but otherwise you can apply to residency program. Then you will complete your training as per the requirements. And then finally, after your training is complete, you are eligible to apply for license to individual states. Every state has a different criteria, but once you are finished with your residency, you are eligible for applying in almost all the states across the country. So moving ahead. So let's start with the first step. Okay. So before you start applying for residency, you need to be certified by EcfmG. So what are the steps that you would take to get that EcfmG certification? So one of the first initial steps, and which I would recommend all of you to do, is to go to this website or search in the Google browser, World Directory of Medical Schools. It's a website which is maintained by EcfmG. And once you go to that website, you will have to search for your medical school. And in the list, there will be a note of EcfmG states that the school meets the eligibility requirement. So only if your medical school meets this requirement and is included in this directory, you are eligible for EcfmG certificate. Now, being said that, I think majority of the medical schools in India are enlisted in this world directory, and that shouldn't be a problem. But I think I would still recommend all of you to go and look into this website. Now, once your medical school is listed, the second step will be you will start your application for EcfmG certification. So what you will do is you will go on to EcfmG website and start an online application. It also requires you to submit a certificate of identification, which is usually a form which needs to be downloaded from the website. You will stick your photograph and it needs to be notarized. And then you will have to send it to EcfmG. So those are the initial steps. After this is done, you get what is called as an EcfmG number. Okay. So once the steps are done, then you are eligible to apply for your step 1 and step 2 CK. Okay. Initially, like before, when I was giving my USMLEs, and that was not like 1,000 years back, we used to take another step called as clinical skills. That was called as step 2 CK. But now, because of COVID, they have removed that step from the USMLE. And what you need to do instead is to take an occupational English test in medicine. This test is administered in India. So good thing is now all the steps which you need to take for EcfmG certification are administered in India. So you'll be taking your step 1, step 2 CK, and occupational English test. And we'll look into the details what is included in the steps. Now, looking at medical education credentialing requirement. So there are 2 documents which you will need from your medical school. One is your final medical school diploma, that's the MBBS degree certificate. So again, you will have to submit the copy of your degree certificate to EcfmG. It is supposed to be notarized as well. And what EcfmG does is it verifies, it will send the document back to your medical school to do something called as a primary source verification. Okay, so your medical school, or if you belong to university like MUHS, which I belong to, I believe it's MUHS which does that primary source verification. And the second document which you need to take from your medical school is a medical school transcript. Now it is a format which is available with all the medical schools. The only thing that changes is the hours and your marks and everything, but otherwise majority of it is the same. And you will have to take that transcript from your medical school and submit it to EcfmG. So that completes your documentation part, which is easy. Okay, so about step 1 and step 2. So if you have met with the eligibility requirements, which we spoke about before, have an EcfmG number, and you have started your application process, you are eligible to take step 1 and step 2 CK. Okay. As far as step 3 is concerned, you can take step 3 only after you have completed your EcfmG certification. For applying to residencies, you don't need to take step 3. You can do it while you are enrolled in your residency program. But for fellowship, I would highly recommend everyone to take step 3 as well, because it just gives you an additional push as far as your candidature is concerned. The another advantage of taking step 3, which I feel is like once you have a step 3, some of the residency programs may be willing to sponsor your H-1B visa. If you don't have step 3, then they would go for J-1 visa. But either ways, that's not a problem. I don't think so. That is a problem in any respect, or one is superior than other. I think the only drawback of J-1 visa is once you have finished your residency, you have to do a J-1 waiver jobs, which are not difficult to find in medical field. I don't know personally of anybody who has struggled with a J-1 waiver job because he completed his residency on J-1 visa. Okay. So then USMLE step 1, right? We talked about 2 steps, step 1 and step 2 CK, and we will look at what step 1 entails. So step 1, and this is verbatim from the EcfmG website, okay? So step 1 assesses the examinee's understanding of and ability to apply important concepts of the basic sciences to the practice of medicine. So what they mean by basic sciences is they are going to test you on your preclinical subjects like anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pathology, microbiology, and pharmacology. But the context will be on principles and mechanism of underlying health, disease, and modes of therapy, right? So they are not going to ask you, so from my personal experience, as far as USMLE is concerned, let's talk about a typical question, right? So they're not going to ask you what is the pathogenic organism or causative organism of malaria. It is not going to be that straightforward. Instead, what they will say, what they will do is they will give you a clinical scenario, right? So patient presents with high-grade fever, which is, and like, you know, all the other presentations of, say, malaria. And what they will show you is an image of a peripheral blood smear, which shows that plasmodium. Okay. And then they will ask you, what is your first drug of choice, or what is the diagnosis, or what are the next steps to be taken? Okay, so they actually want you to apply your basics of microbiology and pathology into arriving at a diagnosis. And once you have the diagnosis, then look at your pharmacology to tell what the drug of choice will be. So it's more practical based, which I think is better than most of the other entrance exams which I have given. It's a long exam. It lasts for around 8 hours. It has 280 multiple choice questions, which are divided into 7 blocks of 60 minutes each. And there is 1 hour of like break time, which you can divide between the blocks as per your wish. So the good thing about step 1, and this they are going to change from January 26th, is initially there used to be a numeric score, and many of the residency programs used to use step 1 scores to rule out or invite the candidates for interviews. So now the outcome is going to be just pass and fail, which I think is a good step. It is good step in 2 things, because if you are somebody like me who finished his residency, was working, and then I decided to took USMLE. So for me, biochemistry, pharmacology was like a distant past. So and it was very difficult to not difficult, but it is kind of like challenging to keep up with those subjects after like a long hiatus of like probably 7-8 years. So that's a good thing if you are trying to do it after residency. If you're trying to do it during your MBBS, it's a good thing, because it takes away that one number which might take you away from your opportunity. So I think it's a good step which EcfmG has taken. Now, as far as step 2 CK is concerned, it's a step ahead. So we are moving from preclinical to clinical subjects now. And what they say is they are going to test you on the ability to apply medical knowledge, skills, and understanding of clinical sciences. Okay. So here you are going to get a lot of questions, or your majority of the focus will be on medicine, surgery, ENT, ophthalmology, OBGYN, radiology, dermatology, if I'm missing anything, psychiatry. So all those kind of things, right? Again, they are not going to ask you a straightforward, I would say fact-based questions. What they are going to have you is they will give you a clinical scenario, and they want you to extract important points out of that clinical scenario, arrive at a rational diagnosis, and then go on to a next step of what will be the next investigation, what you would like to do. Or if it's like a genetic-based genetic question, then they would ask you, would you like to test any of the siblings, if there is like, or what are you worried about as far as the family history is concerned, and something of that sort, right? So this is again a long examination. It lasts for around 9 hours, and it has 318 multiple choice questions, which are divided into 8 60 minutes block. Now, seemingly, this seems like a really long examinations, like 8 hours for step 1 and 9 hours for step 2, but they're not bad. They are very manageable, I would say. Okay. So step 3, I know if you are in a medical school, probably you won't be taking step 3 till the time you are already in a residency program, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to go over what step 3 is. So step 3 is taking a step ahead than step 2. So what I want you to look at as USMLEs, they are a spectrum of tests, right? So they are testing your knowledge along the spectrum with increasing involvement, increasing emphasis on unsupervised practice of medicine, right? So if you look at what they say about step 3 is it assesses the examiner's ability to apply medical knowledge and understanding of biomedical and clinical sciences essential for unsupervised practice of medicine. Now, this is a really long examination. It lasts for like 2 days. Day one is on foundations of independent practice. So they are assessing your basic medical and scientific knowledge. And second day is on advanced clinical medicine practice. So we'll look at what these 2 days look like typically. I'm sorry. Okay. So day one has like 232 multiple choice questions, and it's divided into 60 minutes block, and it lasts for like 7 hours. So 1 hour will be your break time. And day two will have 180 multiple choice questions, which are divided into like 6 45 minutes block, and 13 computer-based case simulations. So they are more like interactive cases where what they will do is they will start with a clinical scenario. So say, for example, you are sitting in the ED and you see the 60-year-old man who comes with excruciating headache, which is worse in his entire life. And then what is the next best step? Like, what is the next appropriate investigation to do? So you know that if somebody is complaining of the worst headache of his life, and somebody is like in that 60 years age, you are concerned about subarachnoid hemorrhage, right? So investigation of choice will be, you will do a CT brain to look for subarachnoid hemorrhage. And if you answer that question correctly, it takes on to a next step, which would say, so CT brain shows subarachnoid hemorrhage. Now, what's the next step that needs to be done? And next step will be to do a CT angiogram of the head to look for aneurysms, which are one of the most common causes of subarachnoid hemorrhage, right? So this case will last for like 10 or 20 minutes, depending on what the clinical scenario is. And you will have to progress from like investigations to getting a diagnosis to actually give to have a treatment plan at the end of the simulation. So second day is again long. It's for 9 hours, but trust me, they are not really bad. It's pretty manageable examination. Okay, so as far as the application is concerned, and I spoke about this before, you can apply for both step 1 and step 2 through EcfmG website. Step 3 will be through FSMB website. Step 3 will be distant in future, so let's not worry about it. But step 1 and step 2 is something which you could apply through the EcfmG website. Okay, so what happens once you are EcfmG certified? So once you are EcfmG certified, from the same EcfmG website, what you need to do is to request for an ERAS token. Okay, ERAS is Electronic Residency Application Services. So once you get that token, you are allowed access to ERAS website, and you can create a profile on this ERAS website. Now, what is the function of this profile, right? So most residency programs are going to accept application through your ERAS, and you don't have to apply to programs individually. And that holds true for majority of the programs across the United States, whether it be internal medicine, whether it be pediatrics, neurology, or general surgery, or any other programs. This is the site where your mentors are going to upload, or recommenders are going to upload their letter of recommendations, right? So what you will do is you will send an invite to your letter of recommenders, and they will draft the letter. They will create a user ID and log in on the website, and they will upload their letter of recommendations. And that is how you are going to create like your entire profile on this ERAS website. Now, once you have an ERAS website, the next step is you have to register on an RMP website. That's a different website which actually aids you in participating in a match. So what does match means? So match is a process where you and the programs are matched to each other depending on what your preference is and what the program's preference is. So usually the matching process starts in like September. September is the time when September is a time when you will start sending applications to various programs. once the applications are reviewed by the program, they will send you interview invites. So your interviews will be typically from like October to January. After January, once the interview season is done, you will rank the programs on an RMP website, depending on your most preferred to least preferred. And you will obviously ranking programs only where you have interviewed. If you have not interviewed at any of the spots, then you won't be ranking any programs. Then programs will also rank their application. And what they do is they run this whole data through an algorithm, and they will match the candidate as per the residency program. Now, what happens if you are not matched in any of the programs? So there is something called as a supplemental offer and acceptance program. So what you have to do is, so what you can do is if you are not matched with the program, and there will be a bunch of positions which will be left unfilled. So again, the matching algorithm, these positions are offered to eligible applicants by the programs. So that's another way you can actually match into a residency spot. But I think once you are like more closer to how getting EcfmG certificate, we can talk about how this matching process works. I know this all information looks like very overwhelming, but we all have gone through this process. And once you start taking your baby steps towards completing your EcfmG certification, all these steps are going to make sense. So the other thing is, the residency spot that is going to be offered to you, it does not depend on your USMLE scores in its entirety. You need to have good scores on your CK, but it doesn't depend entirely on it. It depends on what work you have done as a medical student, or if you are a resident, then what work you have done as a resident. And getting a degree is the least thing you could think of, right? So what you have to do is you have to work on building your profile. And how are you going to build your profile? These are my suggestions, but this list is like, is not complete in its entire way. And there are multiple other things which you can add into. So first thing what I would do is I would try to develop productive relationship with mentors. So if there are academically oriented professors in your college, I would get connected with them, offer your help on the various studies which they are doing, or if they are doing any paper publications, which I'm pretty sure there are tons of professors in every medical school who are involved in research work or at least publishing papers. So offer them your help, and in that can reveal that can help you in two aspects. So first aspect will be if they are publishing a paper, then you get to be a co-author on that, which will be a big boost to your CV. Secondly, when they are like writing a letter of recommendation, it won't be a very stock language letter of recommendation. So for example, if somebody is writing a letter of recommendation for somebody who they just know like by face, they would say that, oh, let's say whatever, Dr. Rahul is a hardworking student and has all these like good qualities, whatever, blah, 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 that would typically be cut paste from a Google website. But if you are involved, if you actually have worked on a project and have like a productive relationship with someone, he's going to write something of like that. So over the past 3 years, I have known Dr. Rahul for like 3 years. Over the past couple of years, we have worked on a research project titled so and so. Dr. Rahul was very hands-on on doing the review work for this paper. He showed keen interest not only in data collection, but also in data analysis, and had a big role to play in writing the paper. So if I'm reading a letter of recommendation which states all these points, I know that this letter is coming from a genuine mentor, and I know that that person has really worked with this guy and he thinks very highly of this guy. So that gives you a boost as far as your letter of recommendations is concerned. Believe me, your letter of recommendation plays a big part in your application, and I would definitely aim for building these relationships. Definitely you should be involved in publication. It doesn't matter if it is like a case report. You're a medical student, so even if it is a case report, it's fine. I think getting connected with various professors in your medical school would help in that. If it is like an original research article, that's brilliant. That is really going to put you apart from your peers, and that is really going to boost up your CV. And even if it is not these off, you can always offer to do like a review paper where what you are essentially doing is looking at the papers which are published, try to collect data, come up with a statistical analysis, and conclude like more like a meta-analysis. So even that review papers are fine. Conference presentations or posters are easier to present, and they really add numbers to your CV. So I would definitely recommend to get involved in like conference presentations and posters. And this can be done in 2 ways. So if you are working on, say, case report, which you are planning to publish in, say, XYZ journal, you can actually turn it into a poster and present it to a conference before you send it for a publication. So present that same case report as a poster, turn it into a case report, and submit it as a case report. So essentially you are getting you're filling 2 blanks on your CV rather than 1 with a single case. And that is acceptable, and that is something which I would definitely recommend. Now, volunteer activities. So when I was doing my medical school, we had this like pulse polio immunization program where you had to visit like a locality, knock on each door and ask if they have a kid they have a young kid, and if they have been immunized or not. And if they are not immunized, then just take the details and like send a volunteer just to get the immunization done. There were 2 motivations for me why I became a volunteer in a pulse polio program. First of all, the pay was really good for a week of work. It was hard work, like you were on the streets from like morning till evening, but the pay was good. And secondly, I was able to put that in my CV. Since I had actually participated in that, I was able to show that experience and talk about that experience during my interviews. So this is another way which you could be involved in. I'm pretty sure during COVID times, majority of you might be involved in like a COVID relief work or immunization work in some way or the other. Try to put it in your CV. It's a great idea to show all the volunteer works which you have done during your medical school. Get involved in professional societies. Now, most of the professional societies, let it be national or international, they have a medical student section. And this is something which I didn't know during my medical school, but now you know. So get involved in it. So the 2 examples which I'm going to do, which I want to give you is RSNA, which is Radiological Society of North America. It has a medical student section, which you can be a member of this society through that medical student section, and it is free of charge. You don't have to pay anything, and you get access to the amazing papers which are published in their flagship journals. And secondly, it gives you an opportunity to participate in committees. So it can be like a medical student radiology education committee or something of that sort. It is not that time intensive. These committees, they usually meet like probably 1 hour every month or every couple of months. But putting that into CV and showing that you have been involved in all these professional societies is also something which gives a big boost to your profile, to your CV. And this is something your experiences are something which you could talk about in your interview and show how you differ from other candidates who have the same CK score, right? The another institution, another organization is American Academy of Neurology. They also have like a medical student section. Depending on what your interests are, you can search for other organizations and get involved in it. So essentially, the whole goal is that you're trying to build a CV on which you would be able to talk about in your CV, in your interview. Talk about proudly about your accomplishments, and that's the whole idea of building your profile. Okay, and finally, it is. It is in your favor if you have a US observership clerkship experience. It may be short for like a month or so, or if it is like 3 months, it's even better. We can talk about it later about how to get involved in US observership or clerkship. I think also it's also very important to work on the other aspects as well as like US observership and clerkship experience. Okay, finally, resources. So personally, when I was preparing for MLEs, I was working full-time as an attending. So I only concentrated on QBank and First Aid. So First Aid is a book which has all the information, all the relevant information in more like a bullet point kind of format or synopsis kind of format. And UWorld is a question bank, which is highly recommended. It's an online question bank. It has almost like 4,000 questions for step 1 and another 3,000 questions for step 2. It gives you a nice explanation after the question. So those are the 2 resources which I have which I read and found them really helpful. I also keep on talking to my fellows, and some of the fellows have also suggested Boards and Beyond. So this is again an online resource where they have videos going through various topics for the USMLE examination. And there are MBOS and Pathoma. MBOS is again like a website with all the questions. MBOS is again a question bank. So if you're targeting a question bank, you don't have to you don't have to go through 2 question banks. I think UWorld should be sufficient. And of course, like throughout your 4 years, you would be concentrating on your textbooks. So that will be the all the armamentarium which you will be gathering to go for a war with USMLE during your 4 years. So what are the challenges? And these are the challenges which I had faced. Funding was definitely one of my biggest challenge. And that's why I had to prolong my USMLE examination. So I actually worked for almost 3 years after my residency, just to arrange for funding, save some money. Both me and my wife were able to save some money to fund the USMLE, not only exams, but also the visa, travel and accommodation, all those kind of things. It seems like a very long and overwhelming process, which is what it is, but it's not that terrible. Once you are into, once you have that wheel rolling, it would be very easy to sail through everything. The way I envision if I was an MBBS, like in retrospect, if I was supposed to give my USMLEs during my MBBS, this is how I would have envisioned it. I would have probably given my step 1 in 3rd or 4th year, because that gives me almost like 2.5 to almost 2 years of clinical experience to connect the dots between my preclinical sciences and the clinical work. Step 2 CK is something which I would target for early in internship. So by mid-internship, I would be done with my EcfmG certificate. But if you have real challenges with funding, I would definitely recommend you to work as a medical officer or a resident in a hospital and gather that money to fund your USMLEs. And US observership experience, once you are in the process, we can definitely regroup and talk about how to apply for US observerships and how to get that ball rolling. Okay. So that was it. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions, feel free to ask me now. You can always connect me on my email, which is enlisted here, rahulnikam@hotmail.com. Connect me on Twitter as well. I am pretty prompt in replying on Twitter as well, believe it or not. But yeah, that's it. Questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahul. So any of the participants wants to ask question can raise their hand. I will unmute them and then they can ask the question directly. Or they can put it in a chat or just raise your hand and I will ask. I will unmute. Any of our friend wants to ask any question? So I see one hand. So Prajwal, you are not a medical student, I guess you are my student. So what are you doing here, by the way? Anyway, I will unmute you. Yeah, Prajwal. I hope you are the same Prajwal, which I think. Prajwal? Parvinder Singh is asking, can I get your slides?
Yeah, absolutely. I will share it with Anubda and he can forward it to you.
Yeah. So what I will do is I will put it on our website, digitalnalanda.com. There is a, if you register there, it is free. Registration is free. So if you register there, you will see a course called Mentors Speak. So all our mentors session are posted there. And today's video also we are going to upload there. So just below that video, you will find this presentation in the PDF format.
Yeah. Okay, since nobody is asking question, I have a question for you. So how many of you are seriously considering taking USMLE? And if you are, what do you think is your biggest challenges as far as pursuing residency program in United States?
Please ask me to unmute. Yeah, I will unmute. Nishant Tavde, you have a lot of, because he is a student of our. Yeah. Nishant, I am unmuting you. You can directly ask. Nishant. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Nishant. Please ask directly.
Hello, sir. So I am a second year student and I am preparing from last 4 or 5 months for USMLE step 1. But because of university and college hectic schedule, it's not become easy to do side by side college work and step 1 preparation. So how should I manage the time and to prepare well for step 1?
Okay. So your question is about time management, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I don't know what your schedule looks like, but what I would try to do is I would try to schedule my step 1 at least 3 months before I actually give my second year medical exams. Okay, so that would give you enough time to concentrate on your medical exams as well. I think as far as actual time is concerned, given that you are you are in the medical school right now, step 2 CK shouldn't be that difficult. I think even if you are able to find like 2 to 3 years a day, 2 to 3 hours a day dedicatedly to study UWorld and solve questions, I personally think that should be sufficient. But you would be the best judge of how your preparation is going. Like as you are sailing through your UWorld question bank, what do you think? Will you be ready to give step 1 in like next 5 to 6 months? I mean, that is something you have to judge.
I'm thinking about to appear in the next year, next October, because in the third year we exposed to some clinical cases during the posting, so that I get some clinical oriented information about the preclinical, and I can think about the clinical scenario, what type of question in the USMLE examination. Because when we prepare for the next NEET or NEET examination for PG, they generally ask they doesn't ask the clinical question. They ask only give one organism and then ask what is the disease caused by this organism. Such type of question asked in the NEET examination. So if I exposed to the clinical postings, then I can get some ideas, more ideas about the clinical oriented questions. So I am thinking to give in the next October.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a great decision. If I was in your place, I would have done the same thing, because since you are studying now, you know that it definitely has like a flavor of clinical scenarios in that step 1 questions. So it would definitely help you with that. And yeah, I agree. The USMLE steps are like so different than the entrance exams which we give in India. They are more memory based, like they're trying to ascertain how much you can retain in your mind rather than how much you understand. So yeah, I think that's a great decision, Nishant. It would be really beneficial for you to do that.
And sir, I saw many videos on YouTube. They talk about you give one of the major test before you applying for the step 1 exam, because most of the question are same as that of the step 1 in the practice papers like UWorld or USMLE RX and many more, like, which will be the best for to judge myself that I am now enough prepared to give the step 1, because step 1 is costly and I am not that means my family background is not that sufficient to provide me to give another chance to do step 1. So I want to prepare much so that I can crack step 1. So how can I judge myself? By which test?
So personally, the only thing which I did was UWorld. And what you can do is you can, so UWorld has that option, at least it used to give that option that you can rather than selecting a particular topic, you can select all the topics and have tests start like what do you say, unsupervised test where you don't see the answers when you click the option, and take it in a block of 60 seconds. Have that questions be random and take it in a block of 60 seconds, 60 minutes. I mean, that was the only thing which I had done. And then secondly, there are some mock tests, not mock tests, but there are some questions on the EcfmG websites also, practice sessions. I would definitely recommend you to do that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Rahul, when we give our GRE GMAT, we have this test series from Kaplan or any other, these organizations or this tutorial, the organizations who give us prepare us for these tutorials. So in your field, do you have such mock tests or series available?
I think USMLE has that test option, right, Nishant? I think it used to have when I was giving it. I'm pretty sure there should be an option on USMLE World.
Okay, so I think Sonali has put up a question in chat. Sonali, can I unmute you so that you can ask directly? Because a lot of our students are there on YouTube also, so they will be able to listen to you. So I'm unmuting. If you have no issues, then you can just ask your question. Please unmute yourself. Sonali?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hey.
Sir, currently I am in Kyrgyzstan and I am a foreign medical student. I am in third year. So my doubt is that I have been studying about it, but now as we have offline classes and there is a really hectic schedule, as earlier one of our friends said. So it is really difficult to manage time. And on the other hand, as we have medical or clinical rotations in India, we don't have such in our college. So we have a lesser knowledge of like clinical practices. So would it be a drawback for me? Or and one more thing, that you said that you should volunteer, or you should you know uh, do publications or a review of reports and case reports and etc. So we are not having any kind of things right here. But if I volunteer in India under any organization or under any what we can say hospitals or clinics, will it be counted in my CV?
Yeah, absolutely. It will be counted in your CV, and it would give you an opportunity to get a letter of recommendation from the person whom you are working with. So that would be an added advantage. Where are you planning to do your internship? Are you planning to do it in your medical school, or you'll be coming to India to do your internship?
Sonali, I am unmuting you again. I think you have muted yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, in we have a 5-year academic uh, course, and after that we can do the internship in India. So I'm planning to do my internship in India. But as for now, I'm in third year. So I was preparing, but now as we have colleges and everything, and it is a hectic schedule. So now I am not preparing right now, but I am planning to start preparing again.
Okay, so I think your internship will be a good opportunity to, have some papers out during your internship. It would be difficult given how hectic internship is, I know, but that is something which, that is one thing which you will have to work against, like being hectic and also have to do publications. The other thing what I would do is, if you are selecting internship, I would try to have personally, like that's just my opinion. We may differ on that, but I would try to take it in one of the major institutes across India, because professors or the faculty at that institutes will be more involved in academic work like publications, and everybody needs help. All of the professors or all my colleagues who I work with, we always welcome help from medical students. So I think that will be another way for you to go into to have that publications as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was a good session.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonali. So now, Dr. Rahul, I want to take some questions from YouTube. So there are some 6-7 questions. So I will quickly take those questions. So a friend, Kiran V, he has asked, I think 3-4 questions. So I'm taking his questions. I'm just reading out, right? So, sir, what are the chances of matching into a program if we have a repeat on one of our steps?
Okay, I don't know the answer to that, but I will have to look into if EcfmG has any data about, the matching percentages. So if you go to EcfmG website, EcfmG or NRMP website, they usually have match data for the previous year's matches, like how many candidates applied to enter internal medicine and how many were offered, how many among them were IMGs and all those kind of things. I'm not sure if they have that kind of data for this, but it's worth looking into. Sorry, I don't have good answer to that.
Another one,
like I said, let me re-emphasize on what I said earlier. So they are looking at your entire application, right? So for example, if you have a reason, if you can think of a reason why you were not able to do good on that step. For example, if there was like a personal tragedy which happened when you were about to take exams, and that's why you were not able to do that step, in your personal letter, put that story in it, right? Everybody understands that. So I don't think so it should be a major problem, but I'm not sure as far as the data is concerned.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul. So another question he has asked, does year of graduation matter if you have done a residency in your home country?
It does not. So I don't know what residency you have done, but then I assume you will be targeting for a fellowship program, right? So if you are targeting for a fellowship program, it shouldn't matter.
Okay. So another one is, how well do NBME practice tests predict your actual step 1 score?
So there is no score on step 1 now, right? Whenever you guys will be taking the exam, it will just be pass or fail. I think there is the cutoff for pass and fail is like 180 points or something, 180 or 185 points. But essentially there is no scoring now.
So another question is from Manasvi Bagde. Is it better to give USMLE after MBBS or after PG?
It depends on what you are targeting and what your post-graduation field is. So if you are doing something like an internal medicine back in India, there are very high chances that you will have to repeat that internal medicine residency over here. If you are a part of, say, radiology, then you could get away with it and get directly a fellowship spot in here. So it will totally depend on what your post-graduation is and what your interest is. What I would recommend is, if you are something who is targeting like pediatrics or pediatric subspecialties or internal medicine and internal medicine subspecialties, I would recommend you to do a residency program in US.
Thank you, doctor. Then there is last question from YouTube. How to get ourselves involved in research in med school? Where to start? What if your college doesn't have a good mentor or no one is interested in research? Cynical care, by the name, cynical care. There is question.
Okay. It's a very cynical question. But so I'm not sure if there would be nobody from your college who would not be interested in medical in publication. But this is something which you can do. So for all the postgraduates who are doing a residency program in your medical school, they are all required to do a thesis. Okay. And for that thesis, they are always working on a data set, on a clinical data set, just to satisfy the thesis requirement. What you can do, and this is something which I had done during my medical school, was to approach a resident, preferably who is third-year resident, because he will have time he would be probably studying, and tell them that you want to get involved in some of the academic publications and you are interested in gathering data if he intends to publish a paper out of it. And I'm pretty sure that will be like a phenomenal offer. That is, if somebody gives me that offer, that's an offer which I can't refuse, right? So with that data, you can definitely come out with a paper or something. I had converted my thesis into a publication. So I think majority of the folks would love to do that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahul. Then there is 2 more questions in the chat by Parvinder Singh. Sir, currently I am intern in GMC Patiala. Can I start now for USMLE?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a very good time for you to start, because you are already armed with all the knowledge, like clinical as well as preclinical knowledge. Make sure that after you finish your internship, you are not just studying for USMLE. That doesn't look good on your CV if you are just sitting at home and studying for USMLE. you need to get involved at least in some part-time clinical works so that you can show that you are continuously involved in the clinical practice. But I think that would be a great idea, and it's appropriate time.
Thank you, Doctor. Sir, now Nishant Taude's question is there in the chat. Sir, like clinical rotations in US, can I do in India? Is there any scope for letter of recommendation from India?
Oh, there is. So majority of the IMGs will have letter of recommendations from India. Okay, because and this is why having that relationship really matters. Okay, so if you have a letter of recommendation from a professor that has higher weightage than a letter of recommendation from an associate professor as compared to assistant professor. Okay, but that letter of recommendation should have a personal touch to it. Okay, it should be describing a project which you have worked on, but definitely it bears very good, it has equal weightage, I would say.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul. Is anyone else have a question? I have taken all the questions from the YouTube and from the chat. So anyone else wants to ask any question, they are most welcome. There is one information I think Manasvi Bagde has written. It's not a question, I think it's an information to everyone from 2023 onwards. MCI, Medical Council of India, has made NEXT, National Exit Test, compulsory to get medical license in India. So sorry if I mean, it's completely, I'm not able to understand anything. I'm just putting across what is written. So this is she wrote on YouTube. So anyone else wants to ask any question, they are most welcome. Otherwise, we will conclude.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. It was great connecting with you all. All the best for your exam preparations. And yeah, please feel free to shoot me an email if you have any additional questions. I would be happy to answer. I know that this is like an overwhelming piece of information and you probably will have tons of questions after this. But yeah, please feel free to connect.
Thank you. This Nishant has another question. Sir,
Okay.
is any organization who help during preparation? Because it is a very costly exam.
So I think that there would be online. So the boards and beyond has like videos as well, which would give like more like a didactic kind of lectures in it. You can avail that as well. Yeah. If I don't know what are the charges for it, but definitely. And I think we have coaching institutes for everything, right? So I'm pretty sure there should be a coaching institute for USMLE as well. But personally, is it a requirement? I don't think so. It's a requirement. If you have studied, if you have done well in your like preclinical subjects and you have studied well, are thorough with your books, and if you are thorough with the USMLE World questions and answers, I think it should not be a problem.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahul. And it was a pleasure having you. And I'm sure because there were a couple of medical students who were in the Bluebird program. So I'm sure they are here and they will get benefit from your presentation. And I think that they will ping you sometime with more questions. So thank you so much. And thank you all the participants who joined from on Zoom, on Facebook or on YouTube. Thank you so much and good night, everyone.
Yep, absolutely. My pleasure, Anubhai.